Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. It's the night before Game 5, although the Islanders said they were showing up tonight. So maybe they were like starting to tailgate early, Ray. I don't know. They tweeted out they were starting tonight, so there is no better tailgate than at PNC.
Indeed. And you know what? The Islanders better show up early, but so must the Hurricanes. They need to show up right from the start. There's no way we want this going back. I don't care if losing would mean we'd have a chance to make our predictions correct, that we both said 6 games. I wanted 5. I wanted it in 4, frankly. But for some reason, the guys aren't showing up. I mean, we've been scoring the first goal, but not necessarily showing up on time. Does that make sense? I don't know, but
yeah, especially for a 2 p.m. start. I mean, those are always tough for us for some reason.
Difficult. Yeah. But I want to find out. You were the man on the scene. Game 4 in UBS. Had a chance to even visit with Kim, who had joined us. And that was really great. The picture that you sent for me, it was terrific, and we've shared it online. She's OG. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, she just is. Awesome. She just
absolutely
is.
So. Yeah. So just real quick, I moved car on Twitter. Aaron, who is a recently moved from Raleigh to Boston, he and I drove down to Long Island. Met up with Pam and Johnny.
Nice.
To a couple more Caniacs. Pam is from, I think I forgot, but Connecticut maybe. Johnny's from Queens, I think he said. Met up with them.
Wow.
Got there early. Were there when the doors opened. Got inside. UBS, obviously, this is our first full year there. Beautiful arena. Really like the aesthetic. Big concourses. Tons of food options. I saw Mediterranean food. I saw bratwurst. I saw, the normal stuff, right? Chicken fingers and fries and hot dogs and burgers. Tons of places to get food. Really well organized. The team shop was great. They had a display of old hockey equipment from like the early 1900s, really old stuff that was cool.
Wow.
And then to check out, you put your items like in a bin and everything's RFID tagged. Almost like a library. So you just put everything in the bin and it just puts everything together and it's a self-checkout basically. It's really neat. Wow. Everything was super fast. Surprisingly, and I know this was a concern for them and for most new arenas, the line to the men's room, I saw guys pretty much waiting in line an entire intermission to use the can. And the women's room had to be 10 times worse, right?
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, that would be the only negative is if you have to go to the bathroom, if you wait till intermission starts, you probably are not going to see the start of the next period.
Oh, man, that would suck.
We got to go down to the ice for warm-ups. They were really courteous about that. We were right there, got some great pictures of the boys on the end where the Canes were warming up there.
How many of you were there? Were there a lot?
There was probably, I would say there was probably 250 total.
Wow.
Throughout the whole arena. And there was probably, there was 4 of us and then we met up and there was probably 50 of us maybe total.
Nice.
Like down there for warm-ups and all. But it was just a smatter. It was just enough. A lot of empty seats. Seats actually the morning of the game, you could get upper level seats for $48. And you could get lower level seats for $85. So the arena, I don't know if it looked empty on TV. It was a sellout. But there were a ton of tickets on Ticketmaster and those places that were not full by any means. So
85 bones
for lower level end zone seating, right? That's crazy.
Shut the front door. That's amazing. Like, you can't expect that price like that anywhere. That's
for a playoff game. I mean, the regular season, I would think they're probably more than that regular season. People were just, I think, trying to make a few bucks but there was a lot of empty seats, which, you're down 3-0. Like, I kind of get it, but pregame show was great. Music was great. 99.9% of the fans were great. There's always a few, right, that take chirping too far or whatever, but you just kind of ignore those and move on. Other than the result, I would definitely go back there for like a Hurricanes Islanders regular season game for sure.
Wicked. Yeah, and you know what? There was a vibe clearly after they went down 3-0. There was a clear vibe along X, like in social media in general, that people just weren't interested in coming for game 4. Like a lot of Islander fans says, I'm not paying to watch this. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
was,
I
I
mean,
felt like a little disheartened, you know what I mean? Like for them
sure.
and for their fans, because look, it's ride or die for every situation, isn't it? Like I just don't.
Yeah, I mean there's a line, right? Because I get being down 3-0 against what has been the better team and not wanting to be like, I'm just going to sit there and go through all this and get hurt. But I also think of all the years that the Hurricanes didn't even make the playoffs, and the last couple minutes of the game is a standing ovation and that
Yeah,
kind of thing. So I don't, it's, I mean, I get it, but and the people who did turn out, like, were cheering loud. They
sure.
were. There was uh Aaron actually had somebody chirping him pretty hard, because Aaron was like, "Hey, I'm going to respectfully cheer for my team," and I guess a guy behind him didn't like it, and I guess Aaron kind of finally was like, "You can cheer for your team." I mean,
Gee.
so,
Yeah,
but
you
all in
know what?
all,
You're
a great
right.
experience. I mean, it's and actually, if you're coming in from New England, it's
Yeah.
really easy to get to the arena and get out. Like it really is, because you really bypass all of New York City if you're coming from the north. So
Oh, wow.
you turn at White Plains basically and go to Long Island instead, and it's easy peasy. We met Sydney, who's been on the show as well. So
Awesome.
she was there, and she comes down from Boston, and she takes the ferry sometimes. So you come in at from the other end of Long Island, right? Then you miss
Oh,
everything because that
wow.
cuts. The distance might be, or the time travel might be about the same, but the ferry is Long Island to Rhode Island is like 20 miles or 15 miles. It's really close.
Oh,
You could see
man.
Long Island most of the drive down, which was kind of cool.
That is very cool. That's very cool. Now, look, we've always said that being in the barn gives you a different vantage point, a different sight. You see more things than what we necessarily see watching the game on the tube. And I wanted to get your take on the game itself and what you saw. I mean, it was double overtime, and there were spots when we looked really great, and there were other times where, goodness. And I wanted to get your take on it because I mean, I can only see what I see through the camera lens. You've got it all laid out in front of you. What did you get out of this one?
So it was pretty similar to what you saw on TV. Obviously, faceoffs were a problem. Guys getting booted from the faceoffs. I mentioned on social media the other day, they're just kicking guys out of faceoffs constantly now. Once, and then they let it all slide because you never see a delay of game penalty for it. Pick one. Either you're going to call the infractions and there are going to be penalties on faceoffs, or stop throwing guys out for no reason. I would put Brent Burns or Jacob Slavin in there because they're going to get kicked out, and then put Aho up second because he's not going to be. So that was one, right? But the biggest thing for me was the game. It was kind of a weird flow to the game because one team, early in the first, the Islanders come down. I don't know how long they were in the zone. It felt like 5 minutes, and I'm sure it was probably more like two. But they were
Yeah.
just hammering, and I was just like, "Oh, this is you have to weather the storm, right? Game 4, elimination game, their barn, they're going to bring out all the stops," and they did.
Yeah.
And it was like watching the tide, right? So then they ebb, and then the Hurricanes pick it up.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was sitting down low because I'd found some seats that were still for sale, and I kind of let myself into those and saw
Nice.
Seth Jarvis net the first goal of the game, right?
Wicked.
8 minutes in. And about 30 seconds later, somebody must have bought those seats and showed up, so I had to move. But that's
Oh,
fine.
there you go.
I went and sat in the seats I actually paid for, and but it was like that the whole game, right? Ebb and flow. It wasn't choppy in the traditional, constant penalties, constant stoppages kind of way, because they actually played on quite a bit several times. But there was
Yeah.
definitely a back and forth where one team would take the advantage, the other team was just trying to hold on. And then it took them a little while to regroup. And then it was like one team kind of ran out of gas a little bit. And the other team got a chance to do it. And it kind of went back and forth. Barzal got that, tied it up in the second period. And that's when the crowd really came alive. And they had actually been a pretty boisterous crowd up until that point, I thought. Far
Yeah.
different from the last Boston game I went to, where I think I mentioned like the first "Let's Go Boston" chant was like halfway through the game. So the
Wow.
Islanders fans were in it, even being down one. They weren't quite as loud. They certainly weren't as chirpy, but they were
Right.
still, they, you'd hear the Varley chants and things like that. They do not like referees in down Long
No.
Island. They do not like referees. There were some colorful chants that were a little more pointed than usual toward the referees that broke out a few times. A couple times, maybe even deserved. I mean, the officiating is typical NHL officiating. It was
Yeah.
okay at best.
Oh,
And
and
then, I was going to
let
say
me.
the other big thing was when Stefan Nazen scored.
Yeah.
It normally a barn like that gets quiet when somebody ties it up that late, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was actually loud in there for a couple minutes. Like, I mean, booing, right? Booing, yelling,
Right.
like no way, like interference and every
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
potential call. And then what I gotta say, when they won an OT, that place was rocking. They were absolutely loud. They were really loving it, supporting their team. Overall, I mean, it was I would say it was a great experience.
I want to circle back to the comments about the refs. I can imagine, I know exactly when they were especially colorful on the no less than three improper icing calls in
Yeah,
that
those were
game.
brutal.
There were terrible icing calls in that game, and they had every right to be angry. It was as though they forgot, like, how do you forget what icing is? It was terrible. They had every right to be furious because some of those, there was at least one, it was right before the end of the period, 19 seconds left, and the icing call is made, and it's like, come on, guys, we short. First of all, who was it? Engvall. Engvall was the one that was always back there. He was hustling all night, and he totally beat Orlov back there, and they called it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's 19 seconds left, and you're going down to the opposite end, and they had just actually. What was really funny is that the Islanders had been on a super long shift. It wasn't icing. Now all those guys have to go back and we put the top line in. I texted you while it was happening and said if the boys score, there is going to be a riot. End of story. And it would have been deserved. Like, I was stunned. I
Yeah,
was
it was brutal.
stunned.
I mean, they showed the replay in arena, and people were, a couple people were trying to chirp. They're like, oh, like they're looking at me like, oh, what, that's not icing. I'm like, no, I agree with you. That's not icing. That's
Yeah.
a couple of times our boys got away with a couple of holds and things, and
Oh
same
yeah.
thing. Like people want to chirp and trying to get a rise, and I'm like, no, I agree with you. That definitely was
Yeah.
a hold. Like
They
I'm
totally missed
surprised it
that
wasn't called.
call.
Like it's not on me. Like you can be upset, but like it's
Yeah,
not my.
am I wearing the stripes? Am I making the calls here? Like, that's funny too, because I get that a lot here in Calgary where they'll look at that. What the heck is going on there? You know, Svechnikov totally, slashed that guy right there. And I'm like, yeah, he totally did. I don't know why he didn't call it. What do you at me for? Like, don't at me. I'm not wearing the stripes. Like, it's happening on the ice. Refs stink. And it's the hardest friggin' job in sports. It's the hardest job in sports, but there it is. I look at what we've seen in the first four games. And Brad, I maybe this is me being cantankerous. Let me get one more thing in before I get on to game five. Game four, I want to put out on the record, DeAngelo played really quite well in that game. He was responsible on D, not making any mistakes, and he was creating some of the offense that we expected out of him. Got a few shots, made some nice passes that didn't connect. And we bury TDA all the time because there is no D most times. And that's when we crack on him. But I want to make sure that everyone knows that we call it straight. And if we see something that they're doing well, there it is. So I want to make sure that gets out there. I've had to defend my take on DeAngelo so many times, and I'm in the right. I don't care what he does offensively. I don't care who he votes for. I want him to play defense.
Yeah, that was probably his best game, maybe of the year.
That's totally fair.
He was a -1, but I'm not even worried about that. He did have 5 shots, and in almost 21 and change, I think, in ice time. So, yeah, it is what it is. The reality is, the Hurricanes have yet to put together a 60-minute game. If they choose to for Game 5, just to kind of move us, it's over. I mean, it's not even close.
No, you're right.
It was clear to me, particularly in person, the Hurricanes are a much better team.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but when you're just watching, especially I was up in the 300s, I like to see the flow of the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't really all that close. Now, the Hurricanes did not score 5-on-5 in that game, which I didn't like, but they had a bunch of opportunities, and they, a bunch of near misses. Varlamov was just playing really great hockey, in part. So it's the Hurricanes just need to, they know who the second round opponent will be. Now it's time to get out of round 1 without any injuries and rest up.
Yeah.
Right. Because the other series, most of them have gone 3-1. So I don't think anything's going too long this year.
Yeah.
So it's time to just come out tomorrow, put them to bed, get it over with, start working on round 2.
And I couldn't agree with you more about the rest aspect. That's why we really should have had the sweep. We should have. But we need to show up right from the start, the opening puck drop, be ready. And we're going to need to call on the Caniacs and Jerks in the PNC. Get them fired up. Be loud. That sounds ridiculous because it's like, we know that that's what they are, but we got to fire them up right from the start. Be nuts for that first 5 minutes. Make the Islanders' ears bleed for how loud we are, and just drive the team to just take possession of that game and end it. Foot to the floor.
In the game in the first 10 minutes.
Yep.
Like they're shaking up the lines, and the lines, looking at the lines they went with in practice today, makes me think that those are lines potentially to prep for the Rangers.
Oh, what are they rolling?
No disrespect. So you got the gas line back together against Aho Svechnikov. They moved Stahl up to line 2, Drury down to line 3, I think it was. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to more evening things out, more getting scoring across the board. So they're just kind of just moving enough pieces around that you're going to get a little more from all the lines. Maybe none of the lines in particular are as good, although the top line is. But just kind of redistributing things, right? You got a body, you got a decent passer on each line, you got somebody that can score, you got somebody that can go into the corners. But you should come out with the momentum. The crowd should be all gassed up.
Yeah.
And if possible, you want to put 2 goals away in the first period and just have the Islanders go, this is just not our year. And not that they're going to give up, but you want to take any momentum away from them right off the bat and let them know that this just isn't going to this just isn't happening this year for you. So.
Like they are playing for their season right now, so they've got lots of motivation. It's time to squash that. If I had one other thing, Brad, and I really noticed it in Game 4. I'll just mention this for our boys. I need to stop bemoaning the lack of calls, the missed scoring opportunities, the whatever, because the game is still going on. I saw KK, I saw Svetch, I saw Fishy himself, where they are either taken down or missed a wide open net, and they look to the heavens and they stop playing. The game is still going on. guys, I know you're going to live with that and it's frustrating, but you cannot stop while the game keeps going on. And there was too many times in game 4 where that happened. It was all over the place. And I get it. Like KK had that one. And me criticizing him, it seems unfair because I know I probably would have done the same thing, to be perfectly honest. But he's a professional, and you're going to get another opportunity to score. Okay. Furthermore, you don't want to stop playing while the Islanders race down the other end of the ice, because they're going hard too. So guys, don't quit. Don't stop. Don't hesitate. Get after it. Get on it. Finish this in 5.
Yeah. And speaking of KK, watching the replay, because I saw it live and I was like, how did he miss a wide open net?
Yeah.
That puck went off of the end of Varlamov's shaft. I mean, if that stick is 2 inches in either direction, that's 100% in the net. It wasn't a miss. It wasn't a pipe. Like, that was right. He did exactly what he should do. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep firing shots. Keep putting your foot on the gas. Keep it in the corners. Dig it out, and you'll be fine. But don't give them an opportunity. Come out, fire pucks, get up early, foot on the gas. Don't slow down. And put this away, and then we can all relax for a couple of days, and then we get back at it with the Rangers. Like, that should be the plan.
There it is. Really, there's not much more else to say, Brad, other than go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.